Sure. Princess got it. Do this. I got it. Hello. Happy Monday. Happy January. Happy Year of the Rabbit. If you follow Chinese New Year. Hope everybody's doing well. Down with the holidays. All the decorations are down and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and there's still snow flurrying outside my window. I don't know about yours, but we got a few snow flurries in North Stamford. Anybody have some snow?
Yep.
Yes.
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 A lot or a little?
No.
It's not sticking.
Oh, good.
Yeah, here in Brookfield, it's a green grass with a wet little spots of white.
Oh, okay, all right, so it looks a little bit like winter, not this dreary, I don't know what this is. I feel like it's fall, I don't know. So welcome back. We've had a nice holiday. We had our kids together over the holidays, which is always very nice. You know how much I love seeing my family, and they were all over the place, so it was really good. Ate too much, but that's what holidays are for. So this is the Downsized Gourmet, and this is our January episode. I gotta tell you, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, and then I got inspiration from, of all people, my youngest son. He's a senior at the University of South Carolina, and it's like, Mom, I made something, and it was really, really good, and so he was sharing me. I was like, oh, with me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. So, and I told Willie, I said, I'm going to do this on the show. And he says, all right, but you got to give me a shout out. So shout out to Will Doyle, excuse me. He's no longer a Willie. He'll always be my little one, even though he's, 6'2" and adorable. But because of that, we're going to make curry scallops with cilantro rice. I also, since it's gotten a little cool, I wanted to make a soup. So we're going to be making a pureed broccoli soup. It's actually very delicious, just a little bit of cream in it. And then I'm going to finish it off with a chopped salad. But we're going to start with the soup just because it takes a little bit longer. And this way, hopefully, I can stage everything so it's all done at the same time. So we're going to start with that. And broccoli, I mean, we always get broccoli. Broccoli you find it any time of the year. And what I did, and I get tired of just steaming broccoli and grilling it and all that kind of stuff. And as I said, since it's cold outside, I wanted to do something different with broccoli. So this is really very simple. And what we do is we're going to start with sauteing our base, and really what it is, it's 1 onion, and please put your email in the chat and I'll email you the recipes. But and I chopped these already. It smells. One onion chopped, a stalk of celery, got to put celery in, a carrot, and then I also have 3 garlic cloves. So we're going to start that in a pot over here. Do you want me in this one or that one? I don't know which one. And with all good recipes, it starts with butter. So this is 4 tablespoons of butter that I'm going to melt in there. It calls for like 1.5 pounds of broccoli, but what I ended up doing, I mean, you can buy a head of broccoli, but they have these little bags of them that are already kind of cleaned and chopped and whatever, the florets. This was a 12-ounce one, and I just chopped them a little bit finer. And that's, another recipe I had said called for, for this amount. This is like 4 cups. So is it 1.5 pounds? No, it's probably just one of those 12-ounce bags is perfectly fine, because that's what I did the last time. So as I said, we're gonna, I probably should have melted this first because this is going to take a little bit. But what we're going to do is we're going to stick these the vegetables in to saute. And So we're gonna put the carrots, the garlic, there's a 3 chopped garlic. I like garlic. You could leave it out if you're not a big garlic person. Some salt. Some pepper. Gotta do salt and pepper. I always eyeball it, right? But in my recipe, I actually tell you how much to put in. This recipe, because I made it before, I tried it out, and I brought some over to my parents. You really wanna, don't be afraid of the salt and pepper. Don't go too crazy, but it really needs to have some flavor in it.
Reavita connected by oil.
My blanch, you're not gonna blanch the broccoli because we're gonna put it,
Connected by
we're
oil.
gonna put it in with the vegetables. Actually, we're going to put it in right now. Once the onions cook a little bit, they become translucent in about 5 minutes. That's when we're gonna add a box of chicken stock or broth, whatever. All right, and then that's gonna cook for about 15 minutes, and that's what's gonna cook that broccoli to make it nice and soft. So you don't blanch it first, you let the broth cook it, and then it gets a better flavor than if you blanch it first. Very good question, though, because I was wondering that too when I made it the first time. So we're gonna let this cook for a little bit. Once the onions are cooked a little bit, then we're gonna add some flour to it, which is gonna make it thicken up once we add the broth in. So that's when you're gonna get it to be a little bit thicker. So I'm gonna let this sit for a couple of minutes and cook. When we serve it, perfect, the onion started, the oven. We're gonna make some homemade croutons. Yes, you can go buy a bag of croutons if you want, but how many people have leftover bread? If it's Italian bread, or, my favorite things to buy are these little baguettes. I tend to buy them at Trader Joe's and throw them in the freezer, and take them out when I want. But these type of things are perfect to make croutons. Very simple to do too. I have my oven on 400 degrees right now, and what we're gonna, what I put it in. It's really easy. It's just olive oil, salt, pepper, and red pepper. So I'm just gonna drizzle some olive oil, and this is just one of those baguettes. I mean, if you've got some French bread, as I said, Italian bread. Let me get my red pepper. I put my little salt in here because it's just easier for me. Don't be afraid of red pepper, because as I said, this soup really needs to have some flavor, right? So adding a little bit of spice to this is great. If you wanted to add if you had some fresh herbs, you could do that, like thyme, oregano, whatever it is, whatever you want. So we're just gonna mix this all up. Make sure it's coated. And coated, you look coated. Let's see. Keep an eye on this. Throw that a bit. It's gonna add a little bit because the bread soaks it up. Then a little bit, and I'm just gonna take pan, throw those on. Nothing special. I cut them up. You can rip them up, whatever. I cut them up this way; they're uniform. And as I said, you can stick it in a 400-degree oven. It does for 15 minutes. Okay. Get this out of the way. Let's go take a look at this. All right. This is coming along pretty well. So that onion is definitely starting to cook, which is great. Can't see anything. I have my readers on. It's terrible. My eyes just every day it just seems to get worse and worse. So that's looking pretty good. So what I'm gonna do, this is 3 tablespoons of flour. If you, no, this is not flour, this is the salt. That would have been a mess. This is 3 tablespoons of flour. If you wanted to half this recipe, absolutely, you could. But this type of soup, it's great piping hot, and you can also freeze it. All right, so, you know, whenever I make soup, it's never for one day. I stick them in the freezer and I take it out when I'm either it's cold, I feel lazy. I think I told you that, you know, my folks live on Long Island, and I've been bringing them some soups lately, and it's been great because on those days when my mother doesn't want to cook, she'll just take one out of the freezer and heat it up, which is great. And you know, they're always very hearty. You throw a salad together, and it's perfect. So I put the flour in, and it says just cook it for like just about a minute until that flour gets a little brown. I will tell you, it's going to stick to the bottom of your pot, which is perfectly fine, because once we put in our chicken stock, you're going to scrape all that lovely goodness up, right? And that flour is going to act as a thickener. Now, as I said, I chop these into pretty small pieces, these broccoli florets, so you know, it might not take as long to get them to cook them. But what I'm doing right now is I'm scraping up that flour from the bottom, right? All right, so we are going to let this cook for a bit. All right, do your thing. So the next thing is the scallops. I'm going to talk about scallops for a second. I was really struggling with this. I was going to make it. I wasn't going to make it. I was going to make it. I wasn't going to make it because I couldn't find scallops. And they've gotten very, very expensive. So I was getting very frustrated. So I'm like, Willie, how did you make scallops on my dime? Like, I went to one of the stores, and this recipe calls for the sea scallops. Those are the big, fat, thick ones. Those are super, super expensive right now. But we all made them with the bay scallops, which are the little ones. And I actually like that better because number one, it's less expensive, and number two, it's easier to eat and easier to cook. So you could go, oh my gosh, things are flying, and buy something, you know, buy them fresh in the at the fish market or the fish department at the grocery store. But I gotta tell you, I went and bought the frozen ones. And I used these before. I don't know if you remember, about a year, I think last year, I made the scallop chowder, and I used the frozen scallops. Same type of thing. You can make this, you just you defrost them. And it worked out really well. This recipe calls for a whole pound. I'm not going to make a whole pound. We're not going to eat a whole pound of scallops. If you want to, great. But I just made half, and then sticking it back in the freezer to use it for another time. Either, as I said, you could make the chowder, you could just, you know, cook them normally into like a scampi. What I might end up doing, I've got this great recipe for scallops and spaghetti, which are really, 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 really good with butter and lemon. It's so yummy. But anyway, so that's, I was on a mission and I found them. And where did I find it? At Stop and Shop. I didn't find them at Acme. Acme only had the sea scallops for like $30 in the bag. I was just like, no way, I can't do that. But I found them at Stop and Shop, which was great. Even Trader Joe's didn't have them. They used to have them all the time. But anyway, this is just, I took out a half a pound, you know, half the bag, and I defrosted it and I rinsed them. And what they're telling you to do is pat it dry. You want them dry. Don't ask me why, I'm not sure. But they're telling you to pat them dry. which I did before, but just to kind of show you. When I made it the first time, I went a little too curry heavy. So I would suggest if you love curry, you can add a little bit more. If you're not, if you're afraid of curry, don't go too much because it got a little crazy. So this is just a half a teaspoon of curry that we're just gonna coat the scallops with. And then it also tells us to add a quarter teaspoon of salt and pepper. So that's for me, that's just a little pinch. Right, a few times around. Okay. And then, once again, butter. It's not, and they tell you in a non-stick pan. This is smelling good. I'm going to melt my butter. All right, so that's some butter. And we're just going to cook it. I mean, once that butter melts, I'm just going to saute the scallops in there. And then we're going to add the rice and the rest of the ingredients. So what's in the rest of the ingredients? So we're going to, they're curry scallops with cilantro rice. So I made some brown rice, just regular instant brown rice. Which kind did I use? I don't even know. Where is it? Oh, minute rice, just minute rice, nothing special. And so you make some minute rice. This is 2 cups of minute rice. You just follow the package, right? And then once we cook the scallops, we're going to take them out, put them on a plate, and then make the flavored rice. Very easy. And in that rice is, I cut up 3 scallions. I chopped them up real fine. And then some cilantro. There's a Mexican restaurant that's near us, and they make cilantro rice. I'm like, it's crazy. I never thought I liked cilantro. I mean, not that I don't like it, but I never really cook with it, but I really do like it. It's just, it's really great in certain things. Some people hate it, but I do like it. So, all right. So that looks like it's melted. My butter's melted. And very simple. They cook very quickly, scallops, especially these little guys. And you do not want to overcook them, otherwise they get rubbery, right? So we're just going to put them in. It's only going to take like a couple of minutes on each side. But my brand new fry pan that I got for Christmas, I love it. So let's take a look at this. It's not okay. So now it's heating up, so that's good. Take a look at that. So anyway, once these cook, as I said, we're going to take them out. I'm going to put them on a plate, and to flavor this rice, it's going to be, as I said, the scallions, cilantro, and a juice of 1 lemon. Okay, so that's what we're going to put in there. Now, while those are cooking, I'm going to take a look at my my soup over here, which you're going to say, gosh, it just looks like broccoli and broth. And I'm going to say, you're right. But what we're going to do once this is cooked, and I'll flip this over so you can see, I'm going to use my immersion blender to puree it up, right? If you do not have an immersion blender, perfectly fine. A regular blender will work, but just be very, very careful. Just do it in batches when you put the soup in the blender, and hold that top, because if it's hot, it's gonna, you know, it could make a mess. So just be very, very careful. Okay, so this is already doing, look at that, it's cooking. They cook very, very fast. As I said, we're just gonna flip them over. And how do we know they're cooked? You can tell they turn white when they're cooked. And as I said, you really don't want to overcook them, and they cook very fast. The The sea scallops, as he said, since they're much thicker. They take a little bit longer, but even then it's very fast. There we go. All right. So, we get a plate, because this is gonna cook. Very, very, very fast. You see that? There we go. There we go. I can see that. Okay, perfect. Almost done. So it's funny, when Willie was telling me about this recipe, he goes, Mom, I've never had curry before. And this is a kid who would eat chicken nuggets and pasta when he was growing up. All right. He was just, the palate didn't exist. And I was so happy when he started to become a little bit more adventurous, which is great. So then he shows me this recipe, and then the next day he goes, oh, Mom, look what I made. And it was like a ribeye steak. I'm like, what are you doing? Wait a minute, you're supposed to be a poor college student. But that's all right, yeah. I guess it's fine. At least he's eating well. I hope he goes back to pasta and sauce a little bit. He'll be off the payroll soon enough. Anyway. All right, so these look, as I said, these cook very, very fast. And it's in a nice butter sauce. Oh gosh, I wish you could smell this. We are having this for dinner. I'm so excited. Aren't you, Paul? Yes. Big nods. Okay. I'm gonna put this on the plate. And then lower this a little bit. And I'm gonna add the scallions. And the lemon juice. We're actually supposed to add the rice. That would help. And the cilantro. So it's a half cup of cilantro. Less or more depending, but I gotta tell you, it makes it look pretty if you do it that way, but it also gives the flavor, because if you ever had brown rice before, I mean, it's good for you, but it doesn't have much flavor. So you really want to give it a bit of oomph. So we just kind of, wow, it really smells good. I did not make it this good the last time, I gotta tell you. I did not have enough cilantro. I was with my mother yesterday, both my parents, and just making artichokes with her, and you know, following her recipe. I'm like, Mom, I've never made them this way before. And she said, Grandma always said, you always add more parsley than breadcrumbs. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Didn't know that. So I've been making them wrong all those years. So, okay. So you see how fast that's been done? I mean, crazy, right? So good. It smells so good. Oh my gosh. I wish you were here. I know you're here virtually, but I wish you were here. Okay. I'm gonna take a look at my go back to this soup. You want me to move it over? I'm gonna move it over here. So that the camera can see it. So it's bubbling away. And my broccoli is pretty cooked. Let's take 1 minute. I'm gonna give it another minute or two. So I want it to be a little bit softer, because once we puree it, you know, you need to have soft broccoli in order for that immersion blender to work. So I'm just going to give that another few minutes to cook. In the meantime, oh, take a little peek at those. They are done. Ooh, perfect. So these are the croutons. Boy, they're perfect. They look great. Where should I put them? I don't want to burn anything. Let me see. Because these are going to go on top of the soup. I'm going to stick this here for just a minute, because I don't. Oh, do you have a hot plate? Oh, that's perfect. Thank you. There we go. Don't want to burn my little boy there. So these, I mean, how perfect is that? And it took nothing. You know, you buy the ones in the grocery store in those little bags, and they're full of salt. You don't know what's in them. Oh, well, that is yummy. Okay. What I'm gonna do, which again, I really want to get back to this. So I think it's in pretty good shape. But you know what? I'm gonna let that go, and we're gonna move on to the salad because I do not want to have a mess on my hands. Wow. Because that's gonna take a little bit to puree. Anyway, so I've got this salad. And I'm gonna put this over here for now, just to get it out of the way. I've got this thing, I'm really into chopped salads lately. You know, you see them in the grocery store, you've got all these different, it's got cabbage, and carrots, and all kinds of stuff. I lost my screen. And so I figured, gosh, I found this one recipe for this chopped salad, and I thought it'd be really easy. I found that in some of the stores, yeah, I don't know if it's supply chain or what. That the sometimes I can't find lettuce. It's kind of bizarre. So, but we always know that cabbage is not expensive. You've got this whole head of cabbage. Maybe use half of it and what to do with the rest of it. You know, you can cook it, of course. You make it into salads, saute it, add it to corned beef. But as I said, I really like it in salad. So what this is just a chopped salad. I chopped up half this cabbage. We're on that. I have a cabbage that I chopped up. And then it calls for, and you can have this too, as I said, 2 cans of chickpeas, which are drained and rinsed and drained. Once again, you can have this. And then one of those English cucumbers, you know, either one of the long ones or 2 of the small ones, and you chop that up. If you like red onion, maybe a third of a red onion. So, yes. Let me get, so. As I said, I would probably have this, but once you make it and once you dress it, it's good for about 4 days in the refrigerator. So this is really good for a party, but you could have this, you could quarter this recipe, because this is an awful lot of chopped salad. So what I'm gonna do, I'm only gonna dress half of it. So. Because then it's gonna last longer. Once you add that dressing on it, it's gonna really, it won't last very long. So I'm just gonna put half of it into a bowl, and the other half I'll probably bring some to my parents because they love this stuff. And this way you can see it in the bowl. But I'll probably have it every day for the next week because I love this. So I'm gonna make some dressing. And actually we're gonna put, this is a mixture of cilantro and mint. So hey, you buy a bunch of cilantro, you can make this out. You don't have to put the mint in it. I'm a big fan of mint. And I put it in with everything. But you know, whatever herbs you like, you can put some thyme in there. Right, so you buy this big bunch of stuff, and then what do you use it for? This is another good use for cilantro and mint. So for the dressing, it's going to be. I have a little mason jar. I've got a bunch of them. There's 2 garlic cloves that I crushed in there already. And then I'm gonna put in some olive oil. So this calls for like 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. I always, you know me, I eyeball everything. You don't have to use it all right now, but this is a really good, like an Italian dressing recipe, because what's in it, it's, well, maybe not. And then there's some red wine vinegar, so 1/3 of a cup of oil, 1/4 of a cup red wine vinegar. This actually calls for soy sauce, which I thought was very interesting. So it's salt, that's a little bit of your salt. Instead of maybe putting salt in it, you could put the what's it called? The soy sauce. So it's only 1 teaspoon. I'm actually going to measure this because you do not want to add too much, right? And then juice of 1 lemon. And then with all dressings, you want something that's gonna keep it together, right? Keep it mixed up. And that's when you use Dijon mustard, because otherwise you're gonna have to keep shaking this, right? But also the Dijon mustard gives this some flavor, right? So it actually calls for a tablespoon. And then we're gonna mix this up. That. And I like these mason jars because then you can, you know, it has a good seal, you can shake it. And if you don't use all the dressing, which in this case we won't, you can put it in the fridge for, to use as a dressing for any other salad. Okay, so let me, another spoon. Move this out of the way. All right, and it also called for sunflower seeds, salted sunflower seeds. So I found, you know, Trader Joe's has those bags of them where all the nuts are. So it's great to put on salads, and it's also just a nosh on. So we're going to add some of this dressing to our salad. Looks like, because I'm getting so bored with, I mean, I tend to buy bottled dressings a lot, and then you get bored of them and you're stuck with these big bottle dressings. So this is a great recipe for the summer too, right? When you want to get all that, those fresh herbs in your garden, and if you you know, if you grow cucumbers or something, it's great. And as I said, you add the sunflower seeds. This was a 1/2 cup of sunflower seeds, but I halved this, so I didn't put them all in. And that's our salad. Very, very easy. I'm going to move all this stuff out of the way because now it's time. Yeah, that soup is ready. Perfect. Now we're going to turn this off. Yeah, definitely ready. So you've got that this broccoli, which is definitely which is cooked now. Now I have a 1/2 cup of heavy cream. You can also use 1/2 and 1/2. If you use milk, that's okay too, but it's a thicker consistency. The soup is a little bit thicker the heavier the cream you use, right? So we're going to put this in and stir it up. It was very good with 1/2 and 1/2. The important part, so with this soup, you gotta eat it hot. Definitely have to have it hot. You're like, of course I'm gonna have it hot. No, this really, when I made this the other day, it was delicious, delicious, delicious. And then when I brought over my mom's, it was cold, and I took a taste, and it was not as good. You really want to have hot soup. So this is my immersion blender. Very simple. It's gonna get a little loud here, but you just literally, as I said, you go around and you pulse, and it's gonna take, you know, a couple of minutes to get through it, but that's okay. But I want you to see exactly what I'm doing. And it's not hard. If you do not have one of these things, perfectly fine. Get a regular blender. You put the soup in and you puree it. But as I said, don't put it all, even though it might look like it can fit, don't fill it up. Maybe do it in 2 batches. Because with that hot soup, you might make a mess. The top might pop off. This is a really wide pot that I did it in. I think I might, if I did this again, maybe put it in a, maybe not as wide, but higher, because I'm getting a little bit of splashback from my blender here. So, and to be honest, you don't have to have it completely pureed. If you like to have, chunks of it, that's fine, of the soup, that's fine too. It's really about, what you prefer. Oops. All right, so I'm not gonna make it, super puree. So I'm flying through this. We're gonna be done way before an hour. That's okay. So I just want to show you. Oh, this is amazing. You might think it doesn't look amazing, but it really is. It's one of those soups that you look at and you go, really? Although this looks pretty spectacular. I would suggest, because this one came out a lot different than my last one. And I would definitely not puree it all the way. Have some nice chunks. Where's my my croutons? So put some croutons on it. And yes, I am going to have some of this. I'm telling you, I can't. If you're a fan of grated cheese, you can sprinkle a little grated cheese on top. I showed it to my brother. He's like, grated cheese with everything. Yes. Right. And then we've got our dinner. So here we go. There we go. In 35 minutes. You saw me do it. We've got the curry scallops with cilantro rice, brown rice. We got pureed broccoli soup with homemade croutons, really easy. And then this cabbage, chickpea, cucumber chopped salad that has the sunflower seeds. There you go. Anyway, so that's what we're having for dinner. What about you?
That is good.
Any questions?
No?
No, that's okay. No problem. So, yeah, so we've been, I hope everyone had a safe January and the holidays. We've been very, very busy in our business. As you know, we help people find assisted living and memory care in Connecticut and New York. And I got to tell you, the number of people that there's so much need. It's hard. It's hard for families, but we're here to help if you know of anybody who needs help. But we'll be back again next month. I think it's February. I don't remember the exact date. The end of February. We'll send you the email. I can't remember exactly what the date is, but it's the end of February. And but I'm not going to be here in March because we've got to be out of town at middle of March. So definitely we'll see you next month. Don't forget to put your emails in the chat so that I can send out the recipes. Any suggestions for February aside from chocolate hearts? No chocolate for me. My mother gave us 3 batches of chocolate chip cookies when I was there. She's like, "Oh, here's some cookies for Paul." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." But anyway,
Yeah.
If you're not gonna be there in March, why not some corned beef?
oh, I know. Excuse me, I have a little Well, make your corned beef and let me know how you make it. My mother just made some the other day. She's like, oh, it was spectacular. I'm like, where's my bite? Funny. Yeah, but no, I can't well, maybe I'll make it February. I'm sure there'll be some, I don't know. Anyway, so, all right, so listen, you have a healthy January and happy Valentine's Day. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that. And I hope the weather still stays okay so that you don't have to deal with too much snow, right? We've been very lucky. So,
Well, good. Thank you very much.
Thank
all
you.
right, have a good day.
You
You
Enjoy.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna eat this. Oh, it's really good. Definitely have to.